What's up, everybody? Welcome to another week of Strong Style here on the Outlaw Nation channel, coming to you live on this Saturday afternoon here where we are. Maybe it's evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are. Thanks so much for joining us live. We appreciate it madly. I'm one of your co-hosts. I am the Outlaw, John Rocha, joined as always by my brother down there in Orlando, who just is recovering from going to see a live NXT show. Aaron Turner, how are you, man?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm going to the next week too. We just got the invite in the email today, so it looks like I'll be returning to the Capitol Wrestling Center this weekend. We'll talk about it when we talk about NXT here in a little bit, but
absolutely,
overall fun time. Got my Undisputed Era hat, or as the guy at the merch stand told me, "Do you want this vintage hat?" Since they're not together anymore, and it made me sad. And it made me really sad. And I was just like, yeah, I like that hat.
I'll take that hat. They'll come back together, maybe in the main roster or whatever, but we'll see down the road. But we got so much to talk about. Certainly, as Aaron said, we're going to talk about his experiences being at a live NXT show and talk about what happened on NXT, a little bit of what happened on NXT. We're also going to preview and give our predictions for tomorrow night's Hell in a Cell matches. And give our thoughts on who might win, who's going to steal the show, who we think might be where you go get coffee or go get drinks or whatever while they're doing their match. We'll talk about all that. We're also going to get into the returns. A lot of returns here. Eva Marie and the controversial return she had. Samoa Joe and the tearing down the house return he had. And rumors that Becky Lynch is beginning her return back to the WWE by showing up at the Performance Center. And, of course, we can't not talk about the Chyna documentary from Vice Versa. So hopefully a lot of you got a chance to see it. Hour-and-a-half documentary, certainly one Aaron and I texted about back and forth. So we're going to get into all of that. And don't forget, the Streamlabs are open. Streamlabs and SuperChats are open. So let's get into some fun conversations here. Send in your question, thoughts, or comments that you want us to talk about, you want us to give out unfiltered takes on. Send them in. The Streamlabs address is right above Aaron's head. It's in the description of this video, and I'm going to pin it to the chat as we go along. All right, Aaron, where shall we start? Let's get into it.
Well, you guys wanted to hear about it, so here it is. We're going to talk about the most anticipated return in WWE this week, Eva Marie. Yeah, Eva Marie returned to Raw this week in person to wrestle Naomi.
That's what it said. That's what it said, Aaron.
That was advertised as the former SmackDown Women's Champion. Naomi took on Eva Marie, or so we thought. Out comes Eva Marie to the ramp. She says, you're not going to be fighting me. You're going to be fighting my friend here. And out comes former NXT UK talent Piper Niven, former competitor in the Mae Young Classic as well, comes out and basically squashes Naomi in no time and gets the victory. So it looks like Eva and Piper are going to have a bit of an alliance here, which makes sense because Piper is a lot bigger than Eva Marie in stature and physicality, so it makes sense that they would put them together. I like the pairing. I think it's good to have and this is a wrestling term. This is not a physical term I'm using. It's good to have someone to have a heavy. That's what you would, Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, like when he was Diesel, that was Shawn's heavy. Like if I'm not trying to body shame Piper, she had enough of that this week. That looks like it's going to be the pairing going forward. It looks like there are rumors that Piper Niven's name will be changed to Dewdrop or Dowdrop. I don't know what that means. So we got this going on already, and the backlash has certainly started as people were not excited to see Eva Marie, and we're kind of less excited that someone like Naomi, a former SmackDown Women's Champion, was absolutely squashed by a relative unknown in Piper Niven. So what did you think of this, man?
I mean, where do you want me to start? Now, all of this was an absolute effing train wreck. And I get what the idea was. And in a perfect utopian world where people enjoy Eva Marie, people like Eva Marie overall, people want her back in the ring or want her back a part of WWE, this is a great way to swerve the fans, bring her some heel heat, and of course, announce a new talent to the roster. However, what they did here was a complete and utter mistake and just a yet another fumbling of the ball, in my opinion. Eva Marie comes out with now, don't tell me they didn't purposely choose this woman because of her looks, because of her size, because of all that. Again, I'm not body shaming. I'm just saying there are messages being sent here that the pretty girl can't possibly get her nails scuffed up or dirty, so she's going to send in the girl who comparably isn't as attractive or isn't making tongues wag at the same level as the other girl. That's a bad message to send. Then you send in, a woman who is African American, who's black, who has been constant shoved to the side when these pushes come, when these chances for belts come along. She's always the forgotten talent, and everyone in the stands, everyone online, well, not everyone, but most people online that I've seen are constantly clamoring about the mistreatment of Naomi by creative, by the WWE. She gets the fans out of their seats. She has a great opening with Feel the Glow when she comes out. So to have her getting squashed by a person who just showed up, this isn't like Paige when she lost the belt, or when she won the belt from AJ. That was a hubris situation. This is something completely different. And I thought it was a terrible way to bring Eva Marie back. And all it did was give more fuel to the fans to set her on fire all over social media. And I don't care how strong you are, you check your social media because you're in a performance based job, and people will check their social media. And to add more fuel to that fire just makes no sense to me on any number of levels. It's a side. What's her name from the wrestler that came out? What's her name? Dewdrop. Aside from Dewdrop coming out and doing.
I think I lost you there. I think you're paused. I hope you're paused. Guys, is John paused or am I paused? What's going on here? He froze. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this before. I mean, look at Nia Jax was originally put with Eva Marie in NXT. So this isn't anything really necessarily new. Eva Marie has always had like a heavy, they did the same thing with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. Like they did this kind of like, they put them together as friends, and then eventually like they did the body shaming storyline, which was absolutely ridiculous. And I cannot believe that it became such a thing, and they ended up doing a WrestleMania match together. Like that whole system was completely ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I was just saying that, Eva Marie, like in NXT, got put with Nia Jax. So it's not like this is the first time that it's happened. It probably,
great point.
They probably are leaning towards some sort of Piper Niven to eventually get her comeuppance on Eva Marie, because that's how it always happens. But the problem is, the problem is, like, look at the same situation, because we have the same situation in NXT right now. We have Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Like Raquel Gonzalez is her heavy, like she's a bigger,
but that's a comparable heavy.
Exactly.
Just like Nash and Michaels are more of a comparable heavy. I'm sorry.
Exactly. You're exactly right. That's what I'm saying. That's the difference. Like you look at the way that it's done there, and it's like, okay, well that makes a lot of sense, because Raquel Gonzalez is a lot bigger, muscular, stronger than Dakota Kai, and she can, get victories that way. But eventually they're going to turn. That's just how it's going to be.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I mean, that's where we're going to get. But the whole way that it was brought up, it just made me feel like they, you look at Piper Niven and then you look at Eva Marie, and it's like, no, we're total. Like you can't help but compare the two together. Like that's just how your brain is going to work. So I didn't like it. Piper Niven's a good wrestler too. So I didn't like the way that it came across on TV at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bad message to send, especially on the heels of Triple H and his comments about, we don't need another women's evolution. We don't need, this is the best place for women to come wrestle. But then look at the way they treat you. Both Naomi and Piper Niven, the way they put them in this situation to elevate Eva Marie, the hot, white, skinny chick. It's just ridiculous on so many levels overall. And it just sends bad messages to the wrestling world. And we're all picking it up. And of course, with the Chyna documentary coming out this week, you want to talk about the WWE and their history of mistreating female wrestlers. I mean, this is all here. So this seems like another repeat performance. I feel bad for Naomi. I mean, there's no way this feels good. There's no way you go home. And I've seen her TikToks and seen her dancing on her Instagrams with the other ladies in the locker room. And that's great, because at least she's finding some joy and happiness being friends with these ladies. But the way they're treating her creatively, the way they've consistently treated her creatively is just so frustrating on so many levels, because she's an incredible talent. And for whatever reason, they don't see a future star in her, or they see her as a mid-card star that can take the losses and then get an occasional push and then move on back to the back of the line. And so it's just a shame overall. But you're right. They're probably going to keep going with this, and then eventually she's going to turn on Eva Marie, and they're going to have a battle. But what is it going to accomplish, too? Because to have your protege turn on you, it means nothing when no one knows who the protege is, right? I mean, I just don't see the logic of it on any level. Like Diesel and Shawn was a different situation. I also think Damian Sandow and Miz was a different situation because Sandow had kind of gotten his own heat, his own kind of, I don't know, connection with the fans. And so when he turned on the Miz, it had more weight to it. Virgil turning on DiBiase. These are the things we've seen all the time. But this one, nobody knows who this person is, so it doesn't carry the same kind of weight. And I just don't think it will when it finally makes the turn. No one's going to care. No one's going to care. And
then Piper Niven's going to, I feel like she'll unfortunately become another story of an NXT call-up that just doesn't hit the mark.
Right.
For different reasons. And we all know how that goes. Then you get released and different stuff like that. I hope that doesn't happen to her because I think she's got far too much talent. Definitely like a unique look and a unique style that could be, presented in a way that makes her look, ferocious and strong. But I just feel like they're not going to do that. They're going to make her like a bumbling idiot that doesn't see this coming. And then eventually she's going to turn on Eva Marie and we're just not going to care. Like you said, we're just not going to care.
And that's the sad truth of it overall. Right. Exactly. And Murderanta has clearly fallen down and hit his head because he said, no, I mean, incredible talent. No. So I feel bad for Murderanta. Someone send the medics to make sure he's okay because clearly he's not thinking straight to say a stupid comment like that. All right, John.
I don't know. I'll give Murderanta the benefit of the doubt because it's like it's like split because I think people sometimes see Naomi as like this incredible athletic. Like I think she's really good and athletic. Yeah. And then sometimes it just doesn't translate to the ring. Like you see her do some stuff and it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that really worked. Like, it's the same with Liv Morgan to me. Like, I have people telling me all the time, or I see on Twitter all the time, that Liv Morgan is this great talent. Like, you see these videos of Liv Morgan training, and she's doing, like, these great moves and these different things. And I'm like, for me, it doesn't translate to the ring because she had a match with Carmella last week on SmackDown. It was terrible. Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't get behind Liv Morgan, never have. So maybe we're just wrong. I don't know. But I know that it's definitely split.
I agree with you on the Liv Morgan thing. She's everyone says she's talented, but when you watch her in the ring, it just feels a little boring. And she's I'm sure of course she's trying, of course she's giving her best effort, but at times it really feels like it's a little boring. Like some things are not connecting fully to put it over the top. And that's sadly what you get at the end of the day. John Alexander says it just pisses me off that they keep doing this to Naomi, just like Asuka and Nikki have been looking like chumps to feed Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people turning on the Rhea Ripley. I've seen this over the last few weeks on social media. People turning on the Rhea Ripley stuff that they're doing creatively. So yeah, you're right. And this happens, but this is life, right? This is, I mean, I don't know. It's just life. Sometimes you get in a position, and when someone controls your employment, they can tell you what to do in the ring, or you're just off TV and you don't wrestle again, and they cancel your contract and you don't get paid. That's the sad truth of this situation. When you allow someone to dictate your life choices, they will decide what to do with your character, and you may have some cachet to push back or whatever, or make it a collaborative situation. But most of the times you don't. So you unfortunately have to take the losses. You have to take these situations, hoping down the road that the boss would be like, you know what, I appreciate what you did. Let's give you a push. And it does happen occasionally, but it doesn't happen that often. So
you also got to recognize that they cut like half of the women that were on the active roster, so there's nobody to do jobs anymore. So it's just like all the stars are going to have to do jobs now. It's kind of insane how we got this far. Yeah,
John Alexander again says maybe Naomi will get a push next Black History Month.
Sadly, probably.
Probably, John. Sadly, probably not wrong there. All right, well, let's move on from this Eva Marie situation. And please remember, ladies and gentlemen, to send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats as we've got here. Justin Toner, thank you, sent in a Streamlabs. Says, hey, John and Aaron, I loved NXT this week with Samoa Joe's return. LA Knight turning on DiBiase, and the Tornado Tag main event was excellent. Not excited for a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, but hopefully we'll get some good matches from it. 100% agree with y'all's Eva Marie take. There you go. All right, thank you, Justin.
Well, Justin, we're going to move right on to our next story, which is probably the return everybody was hoping that we would talk about right off the bat, but we'll talk about it right now, and that is the return Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe came out on NXT this week as William Regal was going to announce, it sounded like he was going to announce his retirement as general manager of NXT and was going to appoint someone else when he was interrupted by one Karrion Kross and Scarlett, which Karrion Kross said, just walk your ass up that ramp and we'll never see you again. And then out comes Samoa Joe to a thunderous pop in the Capitol Wrestling Center. Everybody was pretty happy to see Samoa Joe out there. And what we get now is Samoa Joe is essentially William Regal's enforcer. There are caveats to this, though, that he is not an in-ring competitor and that he cannot touch any of the talent unless provoked. And we saw that happen a little bit later as poor Adam Cole shoved Samoa Joe and then got choked out, which was great to see. I think that was like a huge moment, huge pop for everybody at the building as well as at home. But it looks like Samoa Joe, Karrion Kross, maybe planting some seeds down the road. We also got a face-off between Samoa Joe and Pete Dunne, which was really, really, really cool. So I thought everybody in the first opening segment was great. Karrion Kross's facials were great when he was smugly smiling until William Regal said, you can't touch anybody unless provoked. That changed the whole tone of the whole thing, which was really great. And then, of course, John, we were talking before you went on air, and you gave the line, "What are you still doing in this ring?" So a lot of fun to see Samoa Joe back. Looks like he's going to be back kicking ass. So what do you think about this, man?
Yeah, I'm concerned where we're going to go with this, but I love the fact that he's back, and look, they let him go and then to bring him back. And apparently behind the scenes, Triple H fought really hard to bring back Samoa Joe, has a lot of faith in Samoa Joe. And no surprise that since Triple H fought for him, he came back in NXT, which is essentially Triple H's baby. Let me just say something about William Regal. You want to talk about a lifer, ladies and gentlemen. How many decades has he been part of the professional wrestling landscape and been able to adapt and change and adjust his character to play the characters that he does? And I mean, he still looks dapper as hell in that. He looked great in that red and black combo suit. I was like, damn, this guy still got some great, just looks to him overall. So great to see him as GM. Seeing Samoa Joe come back was awesome. Hearing the pop, seeing the fans react, and then what he's got to say there. But I wonder if competition is where he needs to go necessarily. I kind of like the idea. They were already moving him towards, being a broadcaster. So clearly there were issues they felt about his physical abilities in the ring and some of the injuries he suffered since he's been in the WWE tent. So you wonder, well, if he's going to come into this situation, maybe he'll get an occasional match, but I think it's going to be overall to transition him into taking Regal's spot. Because as he mentioned in the promo, he has given Regal, he gave him a very tough time when he was at NXT and Regal was the GM. So don't be surprised that at some point, even though he says he gave him his respect, at some point he turns on Regal himself and takes over the general managing duties in some way through some tag match or some match or whatever. That's a possibility as well. But Karrion Kross, I agree with you. He's taken a lot of crap, man, but he fought a hell of a match to win that match that in your house, and he beat all those guys to retain the title. And him and Scarlett Bordeaux are now going to take this opportunity to see what they can do with him. And I thought he did an excellent job in the ring, not doing too much, playing the scene as it's laying out and adjusting facially without making big gestures. He did it correctly. I agree with you on that point as well.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, of course, I was there live, so I was with the crowd chanting Joe, 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 because it had broke a couple days ago or a couple days before that Samoa Joe had re-signed. So we kind of figured that we would see him in NXT either as this GM character or as a competitor. I think that WWE is waiting. Like they want to wait and see. Maybe not now, maybe not in 6 months, maybe not in a year. They want to see what's going to happen with Samoa Joe because, Joe's got years left in him. Like he's got years left to compete. Yeah. And they don't want Joe to be one of these guys that, gets these concussions and the CTE and all that stuff. So they want to make sure that Joe's okay. And I think when Joe eventually does come back, if he does, I mean, look at the matchups he's got in NXT, Karrion Kross, Pete Dunne, eventually Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, they planted seeds for that. Kyle O'Reilly, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Timothy Thatcher. Like, there are a lot of people that Samoa Joe could mix it up with. Finn Balor, again, if he wanted to rehash some of that. So I think that Joe made the right call to come back and get in this role, make your money, get paid, be an on-screen personality, and also at the same time mentor these younger guys at the same time, because I'm sure that's something Joe wants to do too. And then eventually, once you're cleared, jump back in the ring and do that. So I think it's nothing but a win for Joe. I think it's nothing but a win for the company. Like, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, I agree with you. Why wouldn't you do it? Like, it just makes all the sense in the world. But I think it's someone mentioned in the chat here, the concussions issues, too many of them. So do you want to risk that with Samoa Joe, Aaron? That's the thing of where I'm falling is like, I think the WWE is going to be over cautious in this situation. They're prepping for a sale. Possibly the last thing they want is one of their wrestlers suing them over some physical malady. It's the reason Sting left. They wouldn't sanction him to wrestle. So I think Samoa Joe understands the limits of what they're asking him. And so he's come back for now to get that paycheck and stay in the public eye with the WWE. I think it's a smart move, but I don't anticipate getting him into too many matches. Maybe some run-ins, maybe that choke out thing, but nothing where he's going to be taking like some serious bumps. I just would be surprised if they do that. That's all.
I think they did the right thing in planting seeds of him choking at Adam Cole was so awesome. It's so fun.
Yeah.
So you got that. It's like, well, we haven't seen Joe do that in a while. So we got that. Like every once in a while you would see Joe like as a commentator, like he had a confrontation with Seth Rollins where he pretty much said he was going to beat him up and stuff like that. So
yeah,
you got like little seeds, but we haven't seen Joe be Joe in a long time. And I think this was the right way to do it on NXT. People are asking in the chat about how NXT was, so I guess I'll talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, please talk about it.
It was a lot of fun being there. Capitol Wrestling Center, of course. How they do it, like usually when NXT was at Full Sail is a big, well, not big, but it's like a college campus. So there's like plenty of places to park, different stuff. You go there, it's a TV studio, all that kind of stuff. This is different because it's not at the Capitol Wrestling. It's not at Full Sail. It's at the Capitol Wrestling Center, which is the Performance Center. So you go to Full Sail. They take you by bus to the Capitol Wrestling Center, which is like, it's like a mile away. It's not very far. So then you go in, you get, metal detector, blah, blah, blah. Then 205 Live, they tape it before NXT. So we watched that. It was okay. And then when NXT came on, that was the first segment. The Joe thing was awesome. Someone asked what the $1 million championship was like in person. It was really cool because it was really awesome to see Ted DiBiase, because I hadn't seen Ted DiBiase since I was a kid, and I'm such a mark for the $1 Million Man. Like, I love it. And I love Eli Drake, or LA Knight as he's called now. I love him too. So to have them do a segment together was a really cool experience for me as a fan. The thing is, though, like, I didn't expect Ted to take a bump. So when LA Knight hit him and he took a bump, I was like, whoa, like Ted's like 67. Like, I don't know if Ted needs to be taking bumps, but
Aaron was going to do a run-in. You were going to do a run-in.
I thought about it. I was like, geez, because I think like the people around me didn't expect it either, because it was like when it happened, it was like, whoa, like, well, don't be doing that. So that was fun. The end match, what you didn't see during the break, during the commercial break, was Ciampa. Like Timothy Thatcher took a bucket of popcorn away from MSK during a backstage segment, and Ciampa during the commercial break took the popcorn and was like throwing it in the crowd. I don't know, it was weird. Ciampa does weird stuff during commercial breaks. It's a weird thing, but it's something that he does. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. I don't know. I think Murderanta said that Full Sail sounds louder than the CWC for sure, because it's a different. Like at Full Sail, it's all the way around. Like you're all the way around the ring. At the CWC, it's only like three quadrants, and there's far less people, like maybe 120 people were in there total. So at Full Sail, I think they can get 250 or 300, so it's going to be a little bit different. Plus, it, like, John, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, like, what's missing with NXT, and I think when I was there, I finally figured it out.
Okay,
I think I finally figured out what the difference is. It's the fence.
Really? Okay.
It's the barrier between the competitors and the fans. Like, it just doesn't, it feels so different. It feels like almost like you're watching it on TV, like it's just, you feel so close, yet so far away. Like, I don't know. It just, it's not an invisible barrier. Like, it's there. Like, you could tell, like, man, we're still not quite there yet. Like, I think people are afraid to get too rowdy. I think people are afraid to cheer too loudly. like everybody wears masks though. Like you go there,
Mhm.
you have to wear a mask. If you don't,
That's
they
good.
tell you to put it on or they kick you out. So it's just I don't know, dude. Like it just feels like still we're not quite there. And I think it's just until they get rid of that fence, it's going to be a little bit different watching NXT, even live.
Remind me, were they doing the people coming in live on the screen to watch from their houses stuff or gimmick before COVID, or was that a reaction to COVID? And now they're just combining the two? Because when I was watching some of the NXT stuff, you saw them like, you know, the crowd there, but you also saw in the back, I don't know if you saw that, but you also saw in the back like people coming in from their homes. And I still get the emails saying, hey, apply to be live at Raw and watch Raw live. So are they still doing that? Do you think that's also an issue too, to see that combo?
I don't know. I don't know if are they still doing the Thunderdome kind of thing? I don't think they're doing that.
I've been getting the emails to apply.
Huh. I don't know if they're doing that in NXT. I'm not sure, but like I can tell you that the platform is raised. So like you come in and there's like people that are around the boards, like at a hockey game. And then there's two like big sections of chairs and bleachers and stuff. So I don't know, man. It just doesn't quite. Of course, we're still in COVID. Like that's still a thing. Right. It just still feels different. Like even when I went to WrestleMania, like WrestleMania felt like an actual wrestling show. Right. And then NXT kind of felt like a wrestling show, but still detached, if that makes any sense. So
Right. Yeah, so someone Murderanta said they did remove the screens from NXT. Okay, so maybe seeing it on Raw or SmackDown, I've seen that combo. That kind of maybe affects things. But I hear you about the barrier. I'm sure that makes you. But I mean, hockey's had it, but hockey's always traditionally had those plastic barriers. Yeah, you're talking about the steel cage fences that are up behind or in front of the plastic barriers, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like it just still feels like we're not quite there yet, but I don't know. Maybe that's my theory. I don't know, but that's my theory.
Whatever side of the political fence you're on about the mask and vaccinations and COVID and all that sense, businesses have to be very careful because they can be on the hook for a lot of money. So for all that stuff, they've got to take it. Just like Disney. Like Disney said, they were, they were loosening the mask restrictions here in California, and apparently there were lines like crazy. The next day at Disney, and Disney it doesn't mean we're allowing people to go in at full capacity. You guys are SOL. We're not going to sell you a ticket. There's no space, and so it's that kind of thing. People have their minds thinking that businesses are just like human beings, and hell no, businesses are not going to do that. Yeah, the small mom and pop one might be like, you don't get vaccinated. You can't come in here if you are vaccinated, or you better get vaccinated. But the larger companies have way more insurance issues to worry about with that kind of stuff. So yeah, no surprise that WWE, which is typically a red state supported type of program, would go and veer into the mask situation a little bit stronger. Plus they do those vaccination PSAs. When I was watching in your house, I was looking at that vaccination PSA. I'm like, for all their talk about supporting the red state stuff, they are very much about like making sure people get vaccinated. So it's interesting.
And to be fair, like I don't care that it's up for that. Like that's fine. I'm just telling you, like as an experience, as a fan, like it just I don't know. It's kind of. I'm not saying like remove it, but I'm just saying like to me it kind of detaches the difference between the two. And I was actually surprised with how everybody was getting along and wearing their masks. Like I didn't see anybody that had to be reminded. Everybody wore it. It just kind of is a thing. Then again,
that's good.
With this crowd, you get the same people week after week, so they're probably like, we know the drill. So,
and they're probably very happty to be there to enjoy it because they've been going week after week. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean the crowd, everybody's super hyped for it. So it felt somewhat like an NXT show, but not quite.
I like what Zeno Hour says. It's wild that a millionaire character is possibly their most over baby face in 2021. No less.
To the moon, that's really fun. Cameron Grimes.
All right, real quick. I'm going to switch my internet back. I'm using my phone, so I think my internet's back up. So I'm going to switch to my Wi-Fi. So I'm going to drop out for a second. Let Aaron jump into the next topic. And please remember to send in your Streamlabs Super Chats. We've only got one Streamlab in 30 minutes. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. I know you love the show. You love us coming here and hang out with you week after week. So please send in your support for the show. Send in your questions, thoughts, and comments here as we're doing this live about anything in the world of pro wrestling. We love interacting with you all. We also love the fact that you support the show as much as you do every week. So please keep sending in your support as we go into the next hour of the show. And I'll be right back.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the videos of Disneyland, it's crazy. It's crazy how many people they have. But the next topic we're going to talk about is the Vice Versa documentary about Chyna. It wasn't Dark Side of the Ring. It's not like I don't know. It's like not like Vice proper. It was kind of hard to find, honestly. Like I had to go to Amazon, type in like Vice Versa, go through these different things. It's like season 2 or season 3, episode 4 or something like that. So if you haven't seen this Chyna documentary, I would encourage you to go on Amazon. I know that it's been uploaded to Vice TV since then, but that's how I saw it. I went on Amazon. It was like $2 to rent, or to buy it. And it's this documentary they put together. I guess there's a whole, like, you know, like I said, it's like the 3rd episode of a season. So apparently they've done a lot of these, but this one was not made by the same people that made Dark Side of the Ring. So that gave me a little bit of pause. I was like, man, I don't know. These people are not going to know how to handle the subject. It's going to be, I don't know. It's going to be this or that. They're going to take it lightly, or they're not going to do her justice or something. Whoa, I was wrong. This documentary starts off, you basically learn that Chyna, before her death, had lived in Tokyo, Japan for 4 years out of the United States. And it's her coming back to the U.S. that's to star in her own documentary about her life and in professional wrestling and different stuff. Of course, you know, what happens to her in 2016, I believe, is when she passed. So that it's a documentary that goes back and forth. You have stuff that happens in 2015 and 2016 from when she returns to the U.S. And then you have it interspersed with her family and different talking heads and her wrestling career. And the first half of the documentary is basically her rise in the WWE, like through the independents, being trained by Killer Kowalski, who also trained Triple H. And then you show, you know, her rise through DX and, you know, Mamacita. They show that, like her beating the crap out of men, her becoming the first ever women's intercontinental, the first ever woman to ever hold the Intercontinental Championship, first woman ever to be in a Royal Rumble, multiple time women's champion, and just her influence on the business as Triple H is heavy, as a bodyguard for a man in professional wrestling. An idea that she pitched to Vince McMahon and Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and Vince turned it down like 50 times. He's like, no, this isn't going to work. Nobody will believe that. So eventually, you know, Shawn and Triple H got in Vince's ear, and they went for it. And she was an instant star, an instant phenomenon in the WWE. Like, look at this woman. Oh my goodness. Like, she is impressive physically. She's just, the way that she looks, the way that she presents herself. She doesn't talk. Like, it's just something completely different. Like, whoa, how cool is Chyna? And then you get into her psychology about how, you know, she looked around the WWF, and you had Sunny and Sable and Marlena and, you know, Trish Stratus and these other women that are, you know, so beautiful and, you know, perfect 10s. And she didn't feel like she was a perfect 10. You know, she's this muscular woman, almost mannish in stature and in appearance, as some people said to her. So she had some plastic surgery to make herself more feminine. They talk about that in the documentary and the different things that she would do. And it just really, after, you know, she's gone from WWF, like the whole thing just takes a really bad, dark turn. So we'll pick up there, John. I want to get your thoughts.
I thought it was a fantastic documentary and very difficult to watch, but also very honest, which I appreciated. Yes, did they skirt over some of the pornography? And well, what are you going to do? Watch scenes from it? Like, there was conversations and talk about those things that were unsavory at the time, but her defenses for them, I kind of didn't find too much fault in her defenses for doing them, for her reasons for doing them. But hearing that she came from the same town as Triple H kind of surprised me. Hearing that I was like, I didn't know they had that kind of connection. They did get Triple H to speak on the record about her in one shot. They only used one clip of Triple H, which makes me wonder if that's from another interview that they did on Vice.
I think it was.
Yeah, and they just kind of spliced it in here. But they didn't shy away from that controversy over Triple H, hearing her friend, who was also a female professional wrestler, like speaking about it straight up. And we were jumping back and forth through time all over her career and her life. And I thought, for an hour and a half documentary, I thought you got a really good picture of this woman, of Joanie Laurer, of who she was as a person, what her demons were, where they came from. I mean, you didn't know that she didn't talk to her mom for like 25 years, which is crazy to think about. Her sister is just 1 or 2 shades different than Chyna in terms of looks and appearance, but fascinating to see. This is the kind of bond that they had as sisters, and the terrible toll that addiction can take on you. And look, her sister should not feel any guilt over this. Some people can handle the constant care of someone who's on addiction, and other people feel that they'll get dragged down into into the ocean and drowned by it and can't do it because they've got to live their lives. So either choice is the right choice for that person, and no judgment should be put on there. But that being said, this documentary crew was maybe the worst collection of people they could have gotten. I don't mean the people who shot this documentary. I mean the people that are being profiled in this documentary about the documentary they were shooting, the reconstruction of Chyna. It was horrible, horrible stuff that she was around the wrong people yet again. And you wonder what it was, Aaron, here, because certainly she was on top of the world. And certainly, so what happened here? Did she pick the wrong manager? Did she not have the right people guiding her? Because there are a lot of women who came out of the WWE from the Attitude Era and were able to like take on new things in their lives. Trish Stratus, Lita, Kelly, all these women have found new walks in life. Even Celeste Bourne has her own like clothing company. So people have different paths that they're walking. And Chyna, you could argue, was one of the biggest stars in the world. And another great thing about this documentary that shocked the hell out of me, I actually found myself agreeing and sympathizing with Vince Russo's.
I know, what in the world?
It really made me feel disgusting. But I loved what Vince had to say, and he was on point on so many things, and he didn't let the WWE get away with it. Saying things like Jim Ross saying, "Well, she wanted more money. She wanted $1 million. She was bigger than Stone Cold." And it's like, well, of course you're not going to believe that, JR, because Stone Cold's your boy. But like, I would argue that Chyna was massive name brand all over the world, but she didn't have that kind of understanding to get a team in place to transition her out of the WWE when she finally made that decision and find new avenues to exploit her name, her brand, and her abilities overall as a personality.
I mean, they basically threw her out. Like, they sent her a fax at a deli, which I don't know how that happened. That was a weird story, but
how the hell did they know she was there? Yeah.
Saying that, they don't need her anymore. So thank you for nothing. Thank you for your time. But yeah, like you said, I mean, she had done Playboy twice by this time. So she was well known around the world. Like, here, this is Chyna, and everybody, for the most part, loved Chyna. Like, they respected her talents. They respected what she could do. I think, honestly, John, I think part of like Chyna's downfall, other than Stephanie McMahon and Triple H getting together and Triple H cheating on her and all that stuff, I think that it's ego, men's ego. Yeah. Because Chyna was this big star and some of these men couldn't get out of the way of it. And it's like she was overshadowing these men, and they couldn't take it. Like it's a man's business. It's a man's business, pal. Can't take it. They can't deal with it. And Vince didn't want her wrestling other men, like men again, like she did before when she beat Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental Championship. I wonder why that was. Probably a bunch of men were like, I'm not going to wrestle her. I'm not going to put her over. I'm not going to do anything like that. Right. So we need her to wrestle women. And, at the time they had Chyna and they had Ivory. Yep. That was like the only 2 women's wrestlers that they had that actually could wrestle. Could you imagine Chyna in today's WWE? She'd be the biggest star that they had.
1,000%.
Just the way that she looks, the way that she can be marketed, the way nobody would fuck with Chyna today. Like she would be their biggest star, and hands down. So
no one's come along that's even come close since. That's true.
Nope, not a chance. And I think that is also something that's reinforced and almost lost in this documentary is that Chyna was so groundbreaking, trailblazing, is an icon in this business, and she will unfortunately be remembered as this woman that had issues and problems and just couldn't get past her demons. And that's really the tragedy of this documentary. You see people like Mick Foley, who's in this, who genuinely cared for her and loved her and loved being around her. Like when they get reunited, when she comes back from Japan and she sees Mick at that Comic-Con, you could tell that like Mick just loved to see that she was doing okay. and he always checked in to see if she was doing okay. And you hear people like Kevin Nash, who tears up when he talks about her passing. He's like, she was my friend, like I care for her. And Billy Gunn is on this also. But like you said, and Jeremy Miller in the chat said it. He's like, like you said it. He said it like, I cannot believe I was rooting for Vince Russo, but he's exactly right when he was talking about, oh, we couldn't put Chyna in the Hall of Fame because she did some adult films. He's like, do you know how many felons are in the WWE Hall of Fame? He's like, don't give me that crap. Like,
people have been accused of murder.
Murder. Yeah, he's of murder and stuff like that. So like Vince Russo, I hate to say it, is dead on with that.
He's 100% right. And the hypocrisy that the WWE exploited the sexual stuff all through the Attitude Era, with Val Venus, with the Godfather, with all the hoes that came out with the Godfather. These are women that they're calling those names. One of my friends I went to college with, two of my friends I went to college with were two of his hoes for the Tallahassee house show they did. So it was crazy. They would source them from the local city. So this idea that somehow her actually doing porn was that step too far. Edge and Lita literally had sex on television under a blanket in one of the R-rated things. So to me, all this, all the TNA matches, all the Jello and the mud, and all of a sudden you're going to draw the line in porn. It's one of those, and Triple H being like, my 8-year-old kid. Oh, really? Your 8-year-old kid's not going to want to find out the fact that mommy and daddy cheated on daddy's woman that he was living with for a fucking year and never told her? That's not going to be the one that affects the 8-year-old kid. It's the fact that this woman that he dated in the past did porn. Get the fuck out of here. And it's just stupid, convenient excuses and bullshit to push this woman down. And unfortunately, and I think her friend said it best. I think it was her who said, like, the professional wrestling business is not a place for the weak. It's not a place for a person who's sensitive. It's not a place for a person who has feelings, because it can be a very difficult place to live in if you can't figure out how to navigate it. If you can't have the toughest skin, if you can't understand that this stuff is temporary and fleeting, it can be very, very difficult to deal with. And certainly Chyna being thrust into this situation without the proper buildup, Aaron. So you go like, this is great. Yes, Triple H and Shawn vouched for her. So she got into the WWE quickly after only being somewhat of a newbie in wrestling and was able to be this dynamic presence, but didn't have the mental ability or the mental maturity to understand what was happening and adjust to it, because she was groundbreaking and she was trailblazing while it was happening. And we all knew it in the public that she was groundbreaking and trailblazing while it was happening. So for someone not to be there to guide her, to help her, to be, she trusted all the wrong people, and all the wrong people took advantage of her. And so you have to go back to Chyna on this, to Joni Laurer on this. And there was clearly a self-destructive impulse, a low level of self-esteem that were exposed. And she thrust herself, or she connected herself rather, with people who were willing to take advantage of that. And maybe psychologically, she felt her self-worth was so low that these are the kind of people that she deserved, not the kind of people who could really take care of her. No matter how much she screamed that she wanted to be loved, she wanted to be respected and cared about, your actions determine whether you actually believe those things that you're saying. And choosing people who constantly take advantage of you and hurt you and put you in toxic situations means that you don't 100% believe that you deserve to get that kind of accolade and respect. And that's at the source of an addict, right? You self-medicate because you can't get out of that spiral of self-destruction that you have in your life. And it's a shame to see someone so talented, so brilliantly talented, and so just seem like a really charming, honest, real person get completely chewed up by this machine.
And I want to go back to the documentary crew. Like, we talked about it for a little bit, but like the guy that her manager that was helping fund this. Oh my God! Like, he took such advantage of her, and even at the end when she had passed away, guys. I'm going to get real dark here for a second, so trigger warning. But when they show the documentary crew going to her apartment door the day that they found her dead, they don't show her. They don't show the footage of her dead. No, they might as well have. But I mean, like, they show them going to the door. She doesn't answer. They go in, and then they talk about how the guy that was her manager had the footage of her like laying on her deathbed dead, and was like happy about it. He's like, "Oh, this is great." Like,
he was showing it to people.
Yeah, he's like, "This is great footage. Like, look at this. What a maniac!" And also, her mother gave him permission to have her cremated and said, I want, part of her in the Pacific Ocean.
A quarter of the ashes.
A quarter of the ashes here, there. I want some of it in the ocean. I want the rest sent back to me.
Right.
He kept her ashes and had like a ceremony, and like this ceremony that her mom did not attend because she's like, this is a publicity stunt. This is all bullshit. Right. Just absolutely insane. And then you had another guy in the documentary, one of the producers, that was doing drugs, smoking, or doing heroin and smoking meth and doing drugs with her, like enabling her because he was a fan, because he was a mark and was a fan that wanted to get close to her. Like all these men, like there's another guy too that was like her spiritual advisor.
Yeah.
All three of these men had very interesting motives and intentions. I think that there was more to that than they got into, but it was very dark. I didn't like that part of it at all. But I'm glad they covered it. Yeah, because you see her last days, you see that they were going to set up an interview and reunite Chyna and her mother. And the documentary manager guy, or her manager, I keep messing this up, her manager set it up, and they wanted to show that reuniting on film. And Chyna's mother said, no, I don't want to do that. It's a private moment. I'd rather it be between us. He said, okay, well then you're not coming. Yeah. So that really sent her into a tailspin because she was so upset that she wanted to see her mother and she wanted to do this and she wanted to make her manager happy. And then she just said, I'm cutting everybody off. Like, I'm just cutting everybody off. I'm just doing my own thing. And then that's when the turn is coming. And it's just heartbreaking and sad because, like, you can tell and from the stories that Chyna was this loving, bright person that was too nice for the wrestling business. And it's just a sad ending. Yeah. And I hate it.
Yeah, I agree with you, brother. And it's the truth of the matter there when you see how many men exploited her, right? You didn't hear about any of the women or any women like stepping in to try to, and maybe, maybe they were jealous too, brother. Maybe none of these WWE stars at the time, female stars at the time, were able to help Chyna or wanted to help Chyna because they were a little jealous that she was so big. Maybe they thought she didn't even need their help, that she was going to be successful. But how many of them actually reached out? How many of them tried to make a connection with her, tried to kind of guide her out of this post WWE life and help her through this? And maybe they did. And maybe Chyna, just her issues and her demons, which maybe were kept under wraps at the WWE because, she had the shield of Triple H for a little bit. And then they kind of, feminized her, and they cover that as well. Like Vince wanting her to kind of, be a little more feminine and fight only women, all of that stuff, which completely eroded her brand. When she started fighting women again, it eroded because these women couldn't compete at her level. They weren't as strong. They weren't as skilled in the ring. It just wasn't believable, to have her lose. It's like watching Ronda Rousey lose. It just isn't believable when you watch it most of the time, or any of the time, actually. And the same thing with Chyna. So it's that kind of situation here. So Vince, instead of recognizing what he had, crapped on it and undercut it and took its legs out from under it because it wasn't what he wanted, And sometimes that's the situation that you get into when you allow someone else to dictate what to do with your character, as I said earlier, what to do with your career, what to do with creative choices for who you are as a person. If that person didn't come up with it, they get real upset when it becomes successful and they didn't have anything to do with it. Vince has a long track record of being unhappy with things that he didn't come up with, that the fans came up with organically. The Daniel Bryan stuff, Chyna stuff, etc. There's a million examples you could point to where the ego of the man running it is more important than actually being successful. And that's a shame. And this is the same situation. If there had been a better post-transition situation for Chyna, you can't help but think, did Triple H influence this with Vince? Did Stephanie influence this with Vince? These are people that are not necessarily 100% known for not being opportunists. So did they whisper in Vince's ear, like, cut her loose, get her out of there, blah, blah, and then send JR, who was essentially like the lackey to Vince at the time, to put out that narrative about Chyna being greedy and wanting, like, God forbid a woman would want as much money as a man. God forbid, pushing that narrative out there. So it's just frustrating on so many levels to see the constant way that men undercut her, devalued her, pushed her down, kept her down. And yes, they gave her an opportunity to shine, but then they quickly tried to push that down right after she became quote unquote too big overall, and it's just a shame on so many levels to see what happened to her, because clearly there were a lot of demons, and the plastic surgery stuff, she kept doing that clearly, and that messed up what she looked like facially, and then you saw how that affected her, and then having those people at the end. You're right, man. They just kind of the dude's doing heroin with her. Dude's excited about doing drugs with her while he's supposed to be filming this documentary. And the little pissant is angry because he's the director of the piece, that this manager is controlling the piece. It's like, bro, you're on heroin. What right do you have to be in control of a project in any way, shape, or form? And yeah, that manager, even in Joni's death, people are taking it. Men are taking advantage of, like that manager does with the ceremony that he set up, that I'm sure he pocketed all the money from.
100%.
You know, yeah. So it's a shame. It's a shame.
It's also worth noting that the director that was on heroin did go to jail. That is worth noting. He did go to jail on drug charges. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked this out, like I said, it's kind of hard to find. But if you go on Amazon, you can find it under Vice Versa, and just go through the seasons and find the episode on Chyna, and it's on Vice TV too. They put it up today, so you can find it there.
Yeah, I'm not telling you to go to Google and type in Chyna Vice documentary Daily Motion. I'm not telling you to do that.
Okay.
I'm not telling you to do that as a way to find it. Anyway, all right.
You can find it other ways. You can pay $2 and see it. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. You should really just watch it, because I know, I think we've seen Dark Side of the Ring. We've seen these biographies, and I think, like you said, Rocha, before we came on air, this might be one of the best. This might be the best of them all.
I think this is the best documentary we've seen, or at least for me. I think this is the best documentary I've seen of all the documentaries, A&E and the Dark Side of the Ring stuff this year. Absolutely, yeah.
It's really well done.
Yeah, shout out to them. We have a Streamlab that came in here from Last Cinema Sailor. Aloha, gents. Very happy to catch you all live. Can't wait for a Hell in a Cell and SummerSlam, which is right around the corner as well. Aaron, can you preview some of your figures that you have? I love the show. An awesome product that is put out every week. Keep it coming. # waiting for Xavier Woods' heel turn.
I mean, I could show you my figures, but I mean, I'd have to pick up my computer and take it over there. I don't know if that would make for good podcasting, but
maybe we'll do a separate show.
We could do that. We could do that some other time.
I think that would be fun for you to do a separate show where you shoot stuff, and we can put it up as an episode of a special episode of Strong Style where you go through all your figures. That'd be great. I'd love to do that.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get one to talk. I'll get one just to show you. Hold on.
All right, and we've got more. We got Hell in a Cell. I want to say to everybody, I was very close to lining up an interview with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre had been pitched to me by one of the WWE publicists, but unfortunately, we couldn't make that timing work for him to come on to do the interview, and they had to cut some people. And unfortunately, we're not there yet, where the Strong Style name or my name carries as much weight to land that interview with Drew McIntyre. But I will say this. The San Diego publicists that I'm working with, this WWE is a very new account for them, so they're going to keep me in mind for any potential interviews down the road. And don't you forget, don't you think that I won't be hassling them every week to see if we've got somebody I can bring on to the show for me and Aaron to interview, or for me to interview, or Aaron to interview for the show. That's going to happen. So
we're also working on getting we're working on getting a big name. I can't say really much of that because I don't want to put too many eggs in one basket, but they're not WWE affiliated. So there you go. But I will show you this. I feel like we need to honor.
Oh, yes.
There's Chyna. Chyna is in my all female section of my details. Awesome. So there's Chyna. It is, it's worth noting that Chyna did eventually go into the WWE Hall of Fame, and they got the deal with Mattel to make her action figures. So, her legacy will live on, but depends on what legacy it's going to be. Hopefully it's the one that I remember, that she was one of the greatest, female talents there ever was. And if she was there present day, she'd be an invaluable resource to WWE. You could probably still do it if she wanted to.
Oh, hell yeah. If she was still around, hell yes. I mean, Moolah was fighting into her 80s for good.
That's true. That's true.
All right, where are we off to next, Aaron? And please remember, ladies and gentlemen, to keep sending in your Streamlabs and Super Chats. We've got about 35 minutes left in the show, so any questions or comments you want to send in, please do them now as we round the corner here into our last half an hour. What do we got, brother?
All right, so we're talking about the possible return, the rumored return. I didn't see her at the PC this week, but apparently she was there, of one Becky Lynch, the last kicker, former Raw and SmackDown women's heavyweight champion of the world. I don't know if I can say women's heavyweight. I don't think that's a thing, but women's champion. We haven't seen Becky Lynch since May of last year, when she gave up the championship due to she's going to go be a mom. So can't really wrestle when you're pregnant. It's not really a thing you should do. But Becky Lynch had her baby, had her daughter with Seth Rollins, and now maybe it's time to return to the ring. So there were some photos of her training to the PC this weekend. Apparently she was in ring getting some reps with Indy Hartwell, one half of the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. So could there be truth to a Becky Lynch return? SummerSlam not too far away. It's going to be in Las Vegas. There's going to be plenty of fans there. Becky Lynch has always said that, the fans are the ones that brought her up. Fans are the ones that cheered for her when she, was injured and brought her up. They're the reason that she's in the main event.
Yeah.
And I think it would make sense for Becky Lynch to return in front of some fans. If it's not going to be at WrestleMania, SummerSlam's your next best bet. What do you think about Becky Lynch returning?
I love it. I love these pictures. I think these are one of the pictures there. You see her putting up some really strong weight, and she's doing the switch grip, which is the smart way to do it there. Fantastic stuff. There's more pictures online of her working out. She looks great. She looks great for having had the baby, and she's ready to get back in the ring. And I'm looking forward to her coming back. So much has happened, but the women's division's been suffering. So bring her back in. Let's see if Becky Lynch can inject some new life into it, start some new feuds, new campaigns, what have you, and make it happen. So it'd be great to see Becky Lynch coming back overall. And I'm happy to see this, and it's great to see her taking the next step. I'm sure Seth's been nothing but supportive to make this all happen. So great stuff, and can't wait to see her. And I think she's absolutely going to be at SummerSlam in some way, shape, or form, right? So kind of either come out as something or run in some way, maybe to announce kind of her presence back and then lead up to a WrestleMania match as well. So, I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know. What do you think here?
I mean, I don't know what the recovery is of a pregnancy. I assume it's pretty extensive. So I don't know if she's going to be like, hey, you're going to jump right back into wrestling full time, or is she going to be here intermittently? Like, are we going to see her pop up for a match here or there, which I'm fine with. I recover all you need, but like from those photos, my goodness, like she's looking jacked and shredded more than ever.
Yeah. So
I don't know what the plans are, but I'm in. Of course, I'm a Becky Lynch fan. I think we all are.
Yeah.
It's just like we've talked about the past couple of weeks, like you just said, these women's divisions are getting depleted, dude.
Yeah.
Like we brought back Eva Marie, we've got Piper Niven, so we've got a little bit of an injection there, but we still need people on SmackDown. We have 7 women on SmackDown. We need some women there. I think Becky Lynch would be better served to go there as opposed to Monday Night Raw right now, because you're a little top heavy with Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax. I think it's a little bit heavy right there for her right now. So I think SmackDown would be better served where she could match up with somebody like Bayley or Sasha Banks or Natalya or Tamina or whoever else they got in there. So I would love to see. Of course, I'd love to see Becky Lynch. SmackDown will better serve her. Just get back soon, because it's been long enough. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Enough rumors. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. So we'll see. But she looks ready. That's for sure. And that's what you want to see from someone like that. So shout out to that situation. And we'll look forward to it. All right. See any more Streamlabs Super Chats? No, not yet. So keep sending them in. Where are we off to next, my man?
All right, now we're talking about Hell in a Cell. I wouldn't say that it was like the most anticipated Hell in a Cell pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah.
But it's here. And last night on SmackDown, we got a Hell in a Cell match between Rey Mysterio and Roman Reigns, which Roman Reigns was successful. First televised Hell in a Cell match since like 1997 or something like that. A long time ago. But anyway, so we'll run through the matches here, give some predictions, and we'll get out of your hair for the weekend. We'll start initially with Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. Who you got here?
I got to go with Cesaro. I still think they're pushing the Cesaro situation. He had a good match with Roman Reigns. Couldn't get the job done overall, but nobody has against Roman. So I love the idea that he is going to get back in the ring with Rollins. Once again, Rollins loses nothing by taking a little bit of a step back, putting someone else over. He's been doing some. Him and Bayley are just killing it with the stuff that they do, man. It's cracking me up. With their laughter stuff in the ring was hilarious. So I just think for me, this makes more sense. Cesaro needs this victory more than Rollins does. How does this help Rollins at all to beat Cesaro? It really doesn't at this point. He's set, and then helping Cesaro get a little more over a little. But where are you going to go with Cesaro after this? I don't know, Aaron. I don't know where you go with Cesaro if he gets the victory, because, I mean, the ultimate goal is getting that belt. And if he's not going to get that belt, this is just spinning wheels time eventually, don't you think?
Well, I'm actually going to go the opposite way, because I think Seth Rollins is going to win, because you got to get that receipt, man. You got to Like Cesaro beat him at WrestleMania, so you got to get that receipt. And I think that Seth Rollins will get it here. I think they're moving Seth Rollins to a feud with Roman Reigns eventually. I think that's where they're going. They planted little seeds for it. So I think that's where they want to go. And then I think Cesaro may eventually get in that IC title picture again. I think he might be the person that takes down Apollo Crews. So that might be where we see Cesaro go. But I think Seth Rollins is going to get a receipt here.
Yeah, okay. All right. Where are we off to next?
Another WrestleMania rematch, oddly enough, and that's Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Who you got here?
Yeah. I got to go Kevin Owens. I always take Kevin Owens over Sami Zayn, no matter what the situation. Just feel like he always seems to have the number on Zayn. So I think this makes sense for Kevin Owens, who's, to be honest with you, kind of getting a little bit lost in the background a little bit. So I think Kevin needs a victory here. But I also think, aren't we done with this at this point, man? How many times can they wrestle where you go, you know what? I just, I've seen this movie 1,000 times already and I'm kind of good. So I think Kevin Owens will win, but we got to get him into something else, man. We got to get him into another feud or something else that's happening here. Cause it feels like both these dudes are just kind of, you know, because they know each other so well, it works as a program, but it's kind of a placeholder for where they need to be going next.
I'm going the other way again. I'm going Sami Zayn because I think, once again, you got to get a receipt here. Like, how many times has Kevin Owens beat Sami Zayn? Like, I think it's time for Sami Zayn to get one and continue this weirdo conspiracy theory thing that he's been doing in WWE. I don't know where it leads for either guy. It seems like Kevin Owens is kind of getting left in the cold. Yeah. I read a statistic that Kevin Owens hasn't held a WWE championship in like 3 years. Wow. I think maybe that's time for a change, and maybe we get Kevin Owens to switch brands, go back to Raw. I think we'd be better served there. So I'm going to go with Sami Zayn to win this one.
Okay. All right. Where are we off to next?
We have John's favorite, Alexa Bliss.
Yes.
In her kookiness versus Shayna Baszler, the Queen of Spades. Now, normally this would be a match that I would be super excited about. Like, oh, this is an interesting match of styles. But with Alexa's current gimmick and the way they've treated Shayna Baszler, I'm not as excited for it. John, what do you think?
It's going to be a waste of my effing time. Yeah. This is where you go get your drinks. If you're in the stadium, you go get your hot dog. This is going to be just a joke. Whatever's happened, it's such a shame because Alexa Bliss had been almost reborn with this gimmick. Not that she ever needed to be reborn, but she was almost reborn into this gimmick, playing off of what Bray Wyatt was doing. Remember him? He was the Fiend. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was the Fiend. And now she's doing this all on her own. She's got the doll. It's all ridiculous, man. And it's not working at all. And whatever good feeling most people had about that storyline overall is now just sinking into the ocean, man, because it's just not working. They're booking it incorrectly. And they're going to throw Shayna Baszler to Alexa Bliss, to the Wolves here to lose to Alexa. She could pick Alexa Bliss and throw her 20 rows into the stands. It's ridiculous to me. We've got to get Shayna. Yeah, oh, there we go. This is a connection to Chyna, right? Shayna, not your standard. She's got that kind of, people have accused her of having a little more of the mannish energy. This is Vince once again deciding to have the more pixie-ish, feminine, overly feminine woman beats the woman who's got a little bit of the mannish tendency, mannish criticisms. You're going to have that go in this situation, and it's frustrating, and it's going to undercut Shayna Baszler because God forbid you have a strong physical woman in the WWE being at the top of the WWE. Don't give me Ronda Rousey shit. She's coming from MMA. That's a different situation where she's a champion, right? Shayna is someone who was a grinder, a mid-carder who was fighting to try to establish herself in MMA. Now she's been doing the stuff here, and she's been great as a pro wrestler at building her brand. And this is just going to further damage her brand when she loses to this joke of a storyline, man. There's my 2 cents.
I think Alexa's going to win. I think it's just going to be annoying. And like you said, go get your popcorn because this character isn't going anywhere for a while. Nope. Like it's too marketable. Somebody backstage loves this character. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
And it keeps Alexa like out of the ring all the time. Like I think she was getting some concussions too. There were some issues with her. So I think they're kind of keeping her in and like out of the ring as much as possible. So this is like one of the few times we're going to see her wrestle as this character. So at the expense of Shayna Baszler, I don't know why it couldn't be at the expense of someone else, but like we said, they cut all the jobbers. So who knows?
Isn't Nikki Cross still in the WWE?
Yeah, they should. They really should be doing a storyline with Nikki Cross. But anyway,
that's the storyline.
Heaven forbid someone that can actually, wrestle and stuff.
Right. And give you depth of character with the things like, weren't we friends? We were friends. Why are you doing this to me? Why is this happening? And even having Alexa have a moment of consideration, a moment of like, why am I doing this? And then quickly push past it. That's how you do the storyline. Having Shayna come in with this doll, being afraid of a fucking doll. Come on, man. This is a woman who's choking out people left and right.
Ridiculous.
Anyway. Yeah. All right. Where are we off to next one, man?
We're on to another female matchup, which is Rhea Ripley, your Raw Women's Champion, taking on finally Charlotte Flair, which is another WrestleMania rematch from a couple years ago. So here we go again. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte finally going together. What do you think about this one, man?
Is this where the Becky Lynch run-in comes in? What do you think?
It could be. It could be, or it could be the next one. We'll talk about that.
Maybe. Yeah, people have been feeling like the Rhea Ripley thing. And I think Rhea's a great wrestler, but I think putting the belt on her and then putting her immediately in a feud with someone that splits the fandom, as Charlotte Flair unfortunately does. I think Charlotte Flair now is in that Roman Reigns place that he was a couple of years ago, where fans are just sick of it. They don't want to have it shoved down their throats. And then eventually Charlotte will get to a position where Roman is now, where she's head of the table. People are back to appreciating her as a great, great talent, and she will get there. But unfortunately, she's in this kind of purgatory place right now. And she's been very positive about the Andrade move to AEW, which is interesting. Not a lot of people could get away with that, because remember, Lana couldn't even talk about that on her social media. And this situation here with Charlotte, people are kind of on the fence about it, not happy about it overall. And you're seeing, and I was reading an article. I know Aaron was kind of remiss with me bringing this up, but or not happy, but I'm going to bring it up. I mean, her SummerSlam cameos. I was reading an article, I think on Wrestling Inc. or one of these places, or Cage Side Seats. They're not selling. And they're $600 a pop, but no one has bought any of the Charlotte Flair ones. Alexa Bliss sold out. Cesaro, I think, sold a few. Rollins sold a few. But unfortunately, Charlotte Flair, hers is not sold any of them. When I read the report a couple days ago. Now, that may have changed since then, but that's when so that tells you the fan interest for this match and for her as a character is not at the level that it should be for someone to be challenging Rhea Ripley for the belt. So it's an unfortunate thing, because Charlotte Flair is a great effing talent. It's just not the right time right now. I think Rhea wins this one.
All right, I'm going to surprise you with this one.
Woo!
I'm going to pick Rhea to win, but anyway, I'm going to surprise you with this. I think Charlotte Flair's been doing the best character work of her career.
I don't disagree with you, but it's not working with the fans.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I just think people think that Charlotte is just some kind of person that's been given everything, and I see your point, I guess, but she's also the best female athlete that they probably have. So who else are you going to put on the top? Like, Becky's gone, Sasha's taking a break, Bayley had her run. Like, who else are you going to put on top? Like, Rhea Ripley is not quite a household name yet. She's very young, so is Bianca Belair. I mean, Charlotte's not old by any means, but Charlotte Flair is more of a household name than Rhea Ripley. So that's always going to be the difference. It just is. Like, it's just something we have to deal with. I think Rhea will win, and I never understand the hate that Charlotte gets, because she's just good. And I'm sorry that she's just good, and people see that. Like, well,
brother, it's jealousy, isn't it? I mean, I've been taking hate all my life in the Schmodown, winning 4 titles. It's still not enough. Hey, people always going to hate because they hate the fact that you're good, and they sometimes hate the fact that they perceive that you've been getting favoritism. And I think that's the thing. They perceive Charlotte getting favoritism in this situation, but Charlotte has never been nothing but incredible in the ring, in incredible shape, delivered fantastic, solid matches for years, man. It's just people constantly seeing Charlotte Flair, and maybe even because it's a male-dominated thing, a little bit of sexism gets into this place as well, Aaron. Men, mostly male fans in the WWE, or fans of WWE are mostly male, and they're probably just like, Charlotte Flair again, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of her coming in and doing things all the time, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation for sure, because she's a great talent, but they'll fall all over themselves for Becky Lynch back again. But Charlotte Flair, and if God forbid they put Charlotte and Becky into a program again, because apparently we're okay with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens fighting 1 million times.
I don't know if everybody's okay with it. I don't know if everybody's okay with it. I think it's just like, we'll take it.
Yeah. All right, where are we at?
Okay, First of all, I would WWE and wrestling fans. I would measure which one's more annoying to you, Cody Rhodes or Charlotte Flair. You figure that one out. But anyway, we'll move on. So the next match is a Hell in a Cell match. Now it is Bianca Belair defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Ding Dong Hello Bayley. So this one should be quite a good match. They've been doing this feud for a bit now. Of course, I don't think Bayley will win. I think that, Bianca Belair will continue her reign. But, like I've said many times on this show, Bayley is the most sound professional female wrestler that they have. She's so good in the ring. She will make Bianca look great. Not that Bianca's bad, but she is young. So Bayley will make her look like $1 million. And it'll be a good match. And Bayley will lose. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. Look, this is the comment of the chat of the day. Fight forever does not mean fight forever.
Apparently it does. Apparently it does.
Young boy, you win the week, my man. That's a great fucking comment. Absolutely 1,000% agree with you. But yeah, I mean, in this situation, look, I love Bayley. You want to talk about doing great character work? Bayley is off the charts. She has more than filled in for the missing Becky Lynch. She has stepped in as a former face to become a great heel, a chicken shit heel, and the ding dong stuff works so well with me. I love it. I love how instigating it is. I love how poking it is, and she is doing her thing, and she looks fantastic. And I love the way she commands the audience. I love that the natural goofiness of Bayley is coming out in the things that she's doing. So to me, overall, this is excellent work that she's doing. And I think she's going to deliver a better match than she's delivered before against Bianca Belair. And I hope to God this is a close victory, because I don't anticipate they'll lose, but it would be great to have Bayley win this to kind of put some doubt in people's minds and get people more excited for a SummerSlam match, because it doesn't make sense to me to have Bianca win at Hell in a Cell. And then who are you going to give her? Is it Sasha Banks coming back at SummerSlam for a rematch? Is she shooting Mandalorian season 3? I don't know. We haven't seen her. Would that be the thing? Or Bayley wins this thing and Bianca is trying to win it back in a no DQ street fight match or no DQ match with Bayley at SummerSlam. I'm down with that.
Well, I mean, Bianca has few options, as we talked about the SmackDown Women's roster, as they have Sasha's gone, so they only have 5 other options. So if it's an Italian Tamina or a tag team champion, so you've got Carmella, you've got Liv Morgan, and you got Bayley. So that's all you can defend it against. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So
and I love that she's riding Cole. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I love that she's riding Cole, though, Aaron. I love that she's riding Cole.
Blanca, you stupid idiot. Yeah. I watched Botchamania and I hadn't seen that clip yet. That killed me. It was great. It was great.
Oh, I don't like Cole. Anyway, all right, where are we up to next one?
All right, so now we're talking about the main event, which is for the WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley, one more time, another WrestleMania rematch against Drew McIntyre for what feels like the 50th time. And I'm not saying this because Drew McIntyre didn't do the interview with us. I'm just saying Bobby Lashley's going to win, and we're going to go to SummerSlam and hopefully get a fresh matchup for Bobby Lashley, because I'm sick of this Drew McIntyre stuff. I like Drew, I like Bobby, but let's stop putting them together, for God's sakes. But Bobby will win.
Yeah, Bobby's going to win. And, right, Drew's great. I love Drew. I would have loved to have sat down with him, and maybe we will get a chance to later on in the future, brother. But he's in a tough position here, man, because it had been his thing. People were pushing him. He did the whole Scottish Claymore thing, had that whole video. Everything has been great, was great for him. And then Lashley, just out of nowhere, the fans gravitated to Lashley, became an organic push for him, and creative made it possible for him to win. And Lashley looks fantastic holding that belt. You don't see him losing it anytime soon, and certainly not to McIntyre. So, eventually it just means that McIntyre is going to have to slide on back and fight other people, maybe for an IC title, maybe for the, kind of start another feud in the mid-card era, maybe him and Cesaro, maybe him and Rollins, although they're, like you said, they're handing up Rollins for him. So wherever they're going to send him, it just feels to me like this is it for this particular section of the fight. Because God forbid they do this SummerSlam again, Aaron.
Ooh, God.
I don't want to see it unless it's a Hell in a Cell set on fire. I really don't want to see it.
Well, there were rumors that Brock Lesnar was going to return at SummerSlam to take on Bobby Lashley, but that's probably not going to happen. I don't think Brock wants to. So, I mean, there are people on Raw that he can have fresh matchups with. So, I mean, let's just do that. I don't understand. Let's just do that. Build a new star. How dare you?
Yeah, but I think McIntyre is going to acquit himself really well in the match. I mean,
of course.
nothing motivates you more than knowing you're not going to get that belt. So you have a little more freedom to fucking deliver a hell of a match, take Lashley to the limit, and in that way, maybe win back some of those fans who had been against you going into the match. So that's the thing that I think is important for McIntyre. Now it's about brand saving. So get in that ring, deliver one hell of a match against Lashley, and make people kind of go, and then maybe you could open the door to a SummerSlam rematch with some new stipulations, because then people will be like, okay, he fought a hell of a match. I want to see what he can do now at SummerSlam and a bigger showcase event. So that's possible.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Anything more to talk about or cover, brother?
No. Hell in a Cell is tomorrow night, so enjoy that. I probably won't watch it, but go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
You are. I know you are. It'll depend on the schedule for me if things work out for me to watch it, but I do want to, but I will watch it. Like if I don't watch it tomorrow night, I will watch it on Monday or Tuesday for sure. And maybe Aaron and I will talk about it overall. So, all right, there you go. That's it. Let me see if we got any more Streamlabs and Super Chats. Yeah, we did get one more from Last Cinema Sailor. Thank you. He said, you have a WrestleMania budget to create your own pay-per-view. Go. Oh, this is going to take us, Aaron. Who are your feuds? Budget. What are your dream matches? Also, I think making WrestleMania a 2-day event is the best way forward. It has that true event feel and is great for marketability. Hashtag season S9 Rocha 316. Oh, season 9 Rocha 316. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. What are your feuds? What are your dream matches here if you're doing a WrestleMania budget? He contributed a decent amount. So what do you think there, Aaron?
So do I have like carte blanche of all companies, or is it just WWE in all eras? Like, what do we got here?
It sees you have a WrestleMania budget to create your own pay-per-view. So it seems to be like you create your own pay-per-view. I don't know if he said you can go back in time, but he said your own pay-per-view. So what would you do?
I'll give you 5 matches.
Go ahead.
I will give you Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle. I think that would be a hell of a match. All right. I think it would be an absolute banger. I will give you Chyna, who we just talked about, versus Charlotte Flair.
Ooh.
I think that'd be a great match. I will give you Mr. Perfect. Okay. Kurt Hennig versus, this is kind of a wild card, versus Hangman Adam Page, because I think it would be an interesting clash of styles.
Okay.
I would give you Hulk. Well, I'll save that one. I'll save that one. But I will give you, let's see. Let me give you the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty as the Rockers.
Whoa!
Versus the Young Bucks. I think that would be a good matchup. And for your main event, I will give you 1989 Hulk Hogan Hulkster versus current day Brock Lesnar. That would be my main event.
Okay. Shit, I don't know if I've got 5 in my head. I mean, what leaps to mind almost immediately is Chris Jericho versus Bret Hart. I think that would be an interesting matchup as well. I think Ronda Rousey versus Chyna would be a fascinating match in terms of believability of who. That'd be the one time, I think, where I would walk into a match not knowing who would win between Chyna and Ronda Rousey. When both of them are involved in a match, I always think they're going to win because they're just the superior strength, superior and strong, and they're going to beat anybody they fight rather. So I think that's the way that I would go with that one. What about Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk?
There you go.
If anyone could get under Stone Cold's skin, the traditionalist old school Stone Cold, it would be Punk in so many ways. And then I'd have as my co-main event, Andre the Giant versus The Undertaker in a steel cage. That would be my co-main event. And the final match, the match we never got because they were all never fully healthy at the same time, The Rock versus Stone Cold versus Triple H. That would be the match that I would end the night with.
Stone Cold doing double duty?
He would double duty. That's right. I don't have Hulk Hogan in a match. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't have Hulk Hogan in a match, or The Rock. But I suppose I should find a match for The Rock. Well, I just did. No, I put The Rock
in.
You put The Rock in the main event. So I don't have Hogan in a match, but I don't know.
Fine. That's fine.
Maybe Hogan versus Warrior again.
No, God. No, don't do that.
That's the surprise match. Hogan versus Warrior yet again.
Fans, don't do it.
One more time, right after WrestleMania 6. So they're both in the tip-top shape and going at it one more time for sure. Yeah. Or maybe Savage versus Steamboat 2. One more time.
Oh, there you go.
Fantastic. Okay. That's your surprise match. All right, there you go. That's it. And then we had something from Roberto Arsenal. Sorry, Roberto. Let me bring it up here for you. He said, for Mick Foley to get on one knee, look at the camera, and beg Vince to push Cesaro is the ultimate validation a wrestler could have. Yeah.
That happened on the Broken Skull sessions. That was wild that happened. I don't know, dude. I didn't really care for that, but it is whatever. So whatever.
Foley's an interesting cat because he's got no problem calling out Vince or anything, but then he's always like so he speaks so deferentially about Vince. So it's just an interesting situation that he has, man. So we shall see. Zeno Hours says Dino Bravo versus Nathan Jones. Is the main event. Wow.
Sting versus The Undertaker is one neither one of us named.
Oh, right. Yeah. I just that doesn't excite me. I like Andre versus The Undertaker. I like that.
Sting versus The Undertaker. Make it
all right. There you go. All right. That's our show for today. Thank you all so much for joining us live. We appreciate it madly. J-Dog coming in right here. Hogan versus Cena. Oh, my God. You want to put me to sleep?
Been a good one.
Five moves versus 5 moves? No, I'm good. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thanks for the Streamlabs SuperChats. We appreciate it madly. And Aaron Turner, thanks again for another fun week talking pro wrestling with your brother. Where can they find you? What you got going on?
Find me on Twitter at only Aaron Turner. Find me there. That's where I'll be talking wrestling.
Boom. Find him there. You can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And one more time, please remember to subscribe down below. We're trying to get over 17,000 subscribers. If you've been enjoying the content on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell, which lets you know when we're dropping new content all the time. You know, the channel now is full on entertainment, full on sports, pro wrestling, and film, TV, all that stuff. That's what the channel is all about. So please give it a follow, give it a subscription, and then hit that bell button as well. Leave a like, leave a comment, all those good things to elevate the visibility of the show, and keep sharing the show. You know, the last 4 out of 5 of the last weeks, we've had over 2,000 views on the show. That's been fantastic. You guys have been amazing. So please, guys and gals, please keep retweeting and telling people about the show so we get more and more people here to hang out with us. And that'll help us land interviews, land segments, land those kinds of things here, and promote stuff, and maybe even do some giveaways and stuff in conjunction with AEW, WWE, Ring of Honor, Impact, what have you, NJPW even. We shall see. So please keep doing your part to help build the show. We appreciate it madly. All right. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next week with another live episode of Strong Style.